Hello, my name is Michaela McNeil. I'm a sophomore in agricultural sciences at Virginia Tech, and today I'm going to be talking about anaerobic digesters and if they can save and make people money. Today we're going to be talking about what an anaerobic digester is, the byproducts created from an anaerobic digester, the cost of installation, funding available for farmers, and economic benefits. So first, what an anaerobic digester is. It's a natural biological process. It's when microorganisms break down organic matter in the environment with little or no oxygen. So examples that can be found in nature would be swamps, waterlogged soils, and rice fields, deep bodies of water, and in the digestive system of large animals. This process basically produces a biogas, which is mostly methane and carbon dioxide with small amounts of other gases. The natural activity of these organisms can be used in the industry to convert organic biomass materials into a biogas. This biogas can then be combusted to create electricity and heat, and then can be processed to remove non-methane compounds and used as a replacement for natural gas, or it could be converted into renewable hydrocarbon liquid transportation fuels. Some of the byproducts from anaerobic digestion is the biogas, like I just mentioned. It is produced through the anaerobic digestion process. It is a renewable energy, so that there's a lot of research and money going into finding more renewable energy resources. So this is one of them, and it can be used in a variety of ways, such as powering engines, producing mechanical power, heat and electricity. It can fuel boilers and furnaces, and it can run alternative fuel vehicles and supply homes and businesses through the natural gas pipeline. So, as I said, it could be used as a replacement for natural gas. There are different qualities of biogas. The quality kind of dictates the way it is used. A higher quality biogas has been cleaned and removed of carbon dioxide, water vapor, and other trace contaminants, which increases its value and allows it to be used in engines that are a little more sensitive and higher quality engines. Low quality biogas is typically used in less efficient engines that are a little tougher. Um, so that's the difference between the higher and the lower. If the engine can take kind of a dirtier gas almost, so you can use a lower quality biogas. Then another product is digestate, which is a fibrous material that is left over following the anaerobic digestion process. It can be it can be made into products such as bedding for livestock, potting soil, soil additives, and fertilizers. Digestates can also be further processed into products that are bagged and sold in stores. Some emerging technologies can be employed post-digestion to recover some of the nitrogen and phosphorus in digestate and create concentrated nutrient products from this digestate. Then you also have the liquid that's left over from this process, and this can be spread on fields as fertilizer. And because it's more of a liquid, it can be easier to calibrate your machine so you know how much fertilizer, how much of this liquid manure is going where, and it just spreads more evenly. So the cost of installation is a huge concern for most farmers, as it is not an inexpensive piece of equipment. So the cost of installation varies greatly depending on the vendors, equipment suppliers, and engineers in the area of installation. The cost could vary from county to county. It could vary from state to state. It really just depends. So one internet source I found gave the initial cost that could range from $150 to $500 per head of cattle, or it could range from $80 to $300 per swine. So I got that from one source, and then another source gave the investment cost of installing an anaerobic digester to work out more toward $1.2 million for a 700 cow dairy operation, and then $2.7 million for 2,800 cows. So like I said, it varies greatly. So one could be an estimate from New York, and another could be an estimate from California. So it really just depends. Another thing that's kind of scary to some farmers is it will take about 5 years or more to make back their investment. So it's a large investment, and then it has kind of a slow turnaround when you look at the cost of everything. Installing an anaerobic digester makes the most sense on a farm if they are expanding or they're replacing a current manure management system. So if they already have an existing one that is working, it doesn't make much sense to knock it down and put up a anaerobic digester. But if they are already looking into improving their system or they need to expand it, it would make sense to look into this newer technology that could in the long run save them money or make them money. There is available funding for building these products. Some One of the fundings is feed-in tariffs, which is not just in the U.S., it's a national thing. A feed-in tariff is a policy mechanism designed to accelerate investment in renewable energy technologies. It achieves this by offering long-term contracts to renewable energy producers. So it's trying to get more and more people to buy into renewable energy. Another thing is the cost share program. This usually requires the farmer to purchase and construct the digester, and then the farmer would apply for funding at the completion of the construction to basically repay themselves. So obviously, this would not require repayment, such as uh, things like a loan. A grant is another one that does not require repayment. It's a federal or state agency that would provide a cash reward to financially support the farmer in the purchase and installation of the digester. So once again, that does not require the farmer to repay the funding. Private funding, such as loans from the bank, this obviously would need to be refunded. It could have any wide range of interest rates. So with a private loan, there is funding available, but you do eventually have to pay it back. So it's not as nice as a grant where you're kind of getting that money for almost free, so long as you're doing what you said you were applying for. Another one is the industrial revenue bond, and this is a funding mechanism that raises capital to build or buy a facility through the issuance of bonds. So the investor that buys the bonds then would provide the funding for the loan. So economic benefits. There's two ways that farmers can set up a contract with an electric utility to buy their excess electricity. So the first way is where the utility buys all of the electricity from the farmer at a negotiated wholesale price and then sells the farmer back the electricity that they need to operate their farm at a normal retail price. This is the least favorable because the wholesale price is usually half the retail price. So in the long run, they're not getting as much money back as they might be spending. So that would be a little less ideal. The more ideal agreement is when the utility buys only the excess power at wholesale price. So the farmer uses what they need and then sells the rest of it back to the utility, and that might offset the electricity used on the farm. Another economic benefit is that the farmer can use excess heat from the engine or generator. So if they can put that heat to use, it would be another economic added benefit, basically. And there is new technology that is being worked on at this time to use this excess energy and heat to actually chill milk. Another thing that would offset costs for farmers is they could be decreasing their bedding costs and buying sawdust because they could be using the digestate that's left over from this process, and they'd still be using less fertilizers as they can still spread manure on their fields. So there's already that nitrogen and phosphorus in the manure, and they might not need to use as many commercial fertilizers so long as they can still utilize the manure on the fields. Other benefits that come to farmers are reduced bedding costs, as I said. The liquid is more homogeneous to spread on fields, so you're spending less time trying to calibrate machines. It spreads more evenly, and there's a little less guesswork going into calibration. And another thing is the reduced odor. A lot of people don't think about it in the ag industry, but there's that whole NIMBY thing where people don't want ag in their backyard because it smells. So if you can reduce the odor, you're making your neighbors happier. Some of the disadvantages to an anaerobic digester is the huge upfront investment. That kind of scares farmers out of using this new technology. And as this technology becomes more and more usable, obviously the costs will probably go down over time. But the cost up front right now is kind of scary to look at when you're just trying. Some people are still trying to make it milk check to milk check. So, and the whole, it takes 5 years to make your money back. It can be a little scary. The other thing is there's maintenance costs and time to fix it. One of the articles I was reading is like they compared the anaerobic digester to one of the animals on the farm. It needs time and to be maintained and taken care of in order to make sure it runs properly, so they're not damaging the machine over time by not keeping up maintenance. And then there's farm safety problems. With any buildup of methane, you can have accidents, and scary ones at that. So obviously there's a little danger to everything in farming, and especially when you have a huge buildup of gases in one area. So to draw some conclusions for you, you can make money using anaerobic digesters if you do it right. There are other advantages to anaerobic digesters, not just monetary ones, such as using bedding that can come from the process, or using fertilizers on the fields and making money, not making money, that's a monetary reason, and just making your neighbors happier with a lack of odor. The upfront investment can be very costly to farmers, though, and anaerobic digesters are becoming more and more popular. The more and more articles I read, when I was reading ones from the early 2000s, it was more of a newer technology that not as many people were using. But in some of the predictions were that more and more people were going to begin to use this as they more understood what it did and the benefits that it could bring their farm. So thank you for your time, and I hope I didn't ramble too much. Have a good day.